What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Fix It Farm YouTube channel. If you're into buying, selling, fixing, breaking, building, anything in between and beyond, you are in the right spot. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I haven't been super active on YouTube lately, and that's because I've been working on this. This is my shop, but it hasn't always been a shop. It started off as a shed. It's 44 feet wide, 60 feet long, and it was built in 1963. So I dug through some pictures I had and found this one, which is the very first picture I have of the shed the day that I bought this property. And at this point, it was very much a shed. The metal on the outside was old and had been repainted. There was even some bullet holes in the one wall. The inside was rock. It had sliding doors. It really wasn't much of a shop at all. Like I said, it was a shed. So turning this into a shop has been quite the undertaking. I have a little bit of knowledge in construction. I have some friends that are very skilled in it, but I'm definitely not a construction worker. So it's been a labor of love, but I'm finally starting to see some progress, and hopefully I'll be able to call it finished here in a couple of weeks. But like I said, this started off as a shed. It had gravel floors, no garage doors. The metal on it was old, and it was pretty much just used for storage. So we've done pretty much all the work ourselves. I did hire out a couple things. That was mainly just so that work could get done while I was doing something else. And I've also done this in phases. That way I could save up money, get a couple things done, wait, save up some more money, get a couple things done. But the problem with that was I make my side money in here working. So I'm working in this building as I'm trying to work on it. And as you can see by all the junk piled up everywhere, that's still the case. Now, the reason it looks so full is because I don't have any shelves up, and I don't have any shelves up because I was doing wiring, I'm insulating, I'm doing things that I need to be up against the wall. So what my goal is to get at least a couple of these walls finished off. That way I can get some shelves up and get some floor space. So before I jump into what we're doing today, I kind of want to take a couple steps back and talk about the projects we've done in getting to where we are. As you can see, the floor in here is all concrete. This used to be rock, and it sloped back up towards that back door. That was also a sliding door. So the first real project we did in 2018 was dig all this up, get it nice and level, and pour concrete. Before we poured the concrete, I roughed in a bathroom back here, a drain for this utility sink, and also we ran PEX tubing underneath the floor for the eventual installation of in-floor heat. So since this building has been here for over 50 years, we had a really solid base for concrete, but it wasn't level at all. So my buddy came over with a skid loader, and we took the extra dirt from inside and actually used it outside in front of the building to extend the driveway over and give us some additional room for parking. Next, we brought some rock in to fill in low spots, set our grade, and we had a little bit of plumbing to rough in the back corner for a future bathroom. And once we were done with that, we were ready to pour concrete. So the week we were getting ready to pour concrete, there was a lot of other stuff happening too. I had thought about doing in-floor heat, then I talked myself out of it. Then I decided to do it, and I talked to a friend of mine that's a plumber. He gave me some tips, and we just ran with it. So this wouldn't be a fun project if it didn't have an unrealistic deadline in it somewhere. I made a decision to go with in-floor heat on Wednesday, which only gave us Thursday and Friday to get it done before we started pouring concrete Saturday morning. So 2 days is probably a very tight schedule for a company that does heating and cooling. I can tell you that it's an extremely tight schedule for a guy and his dad who have never done anything like this before. So we went and got all the materials on Wednesday, all the insulation, the PEX tubing, and then Thursday morning we hit it hard. So we laid down some plastic first, just to get a vapor barrier, and then we started laying down our insulation. So we got all the insulation laid down on the floor and on the foundation walls, and all the seams taped on Thursday. We got finished around 10:30 at night, and then Friday morning it was go time. We started running the PEX tubing. So we were rolling pretty good, but it was taking a lot longer than either of us had thought. And I remember looking over at Dad around 3 in the afternoon and telling him, I'm pretty sure we're going to have to stay up all night if we want to get this done. And we knew we had to get it done because everyone was coming to pour the concrete. So we pushed through the night and ended up getting done right around 5:30 in the morning as the first people were showing up to help us pour the concrete. So with all the good experienced help that we had show up that day, it did not take long at all for things to get rolling. It also didn't take very long for me to break away and take a couple-hour much-needed nap to rest up from the long night before. I woke up with just enough time for the most important part of the day, paying the last driver for all the concrete we had delivered. I did get to try running the power trowel, but quickly decided to leave it to the experts after almost getting thrown off of it. And this was the finished product after the saw cuts. Also proof that at one point the shed was empty and not filled with junk. Pouring the concrete floor and installing in-floor heat was a pretty big project. Also, it's a very expensive one. So once I was done with this, we took a break for a couple months, enjoyed having a building with a concrete floor for the winter, saved up some money, and then started into replacing the metal on the whole building the following spring. We started removing the metal on the short ends first because we were pulling the sliding doors off at the same time, and then once the sliding doors were off, we started framing up for garage doors. The next few pictures show all the work we had to do to get bracing added to frame the garage doors in and make sure that they were sturdy. So this might be a little bit overkill, but as I like to say, she ain't going anywhere. So again, this was another first for Dad and I. We just kind of figured it out as we went. We started on the west side of the building. We snapped a line and started putting our new metal up. So we started on the west side of the building, on the long end as we'll call it. Got that side done, jumped to the east side, the other long end, ripped that metal off, put the new metal on. Once we were finished there, we had pretty well got the hang of putting the metal on, so we went to the north end. This was a little more challenging because we had to cut the angle to follow the roof line, but after the first one, we pretty well had the hang of it, and we just kept rolling. So while we were putting the new metal on the front, I took the opportunity to move the electrical service from where it came in on the front of the building. I definitely remember this project. We had to hand dig down to get to the cable, and then we hand dug another trench to move the cable over into. It was a lot of work. Luckily, we had the tractor there to backfill to save us a little bit as we were getting worn out. Once we wrapped up backfilling, we had 2 more pieces of metal to put on, then we were done. So that catches us up on everything that's been done on the outside of the building. Now we'll go over what's going on the inside. So I have a nice little bathroom in here. I love this. Super nice to have a bathroom in your shop. The vanity, $75 off of Craigslist. Cheapest toilet you can buy at Menards. This in here will be like a utility room. Right now I'm storing some stuff in here that I don't want to rust because this is all insulated and kind of climate controlled with space heaters for now, but there's all the PEX tubing. That all runs in loops through the floor, all out through here, and eventually that will be heated. Not really in the cards for right now. To set up that whole system with a boiler and filling the propane tank, buying another propane tank, will be around $8,000, and not really interested in paying that right now. So I have a big wood stove that I'm gonna use in the meantime to provide some heat until this summer where I can get some more money saved up and hook up the in-floor heat. We'll kind of go over here and look at the electrical panel. So we installed this. This is a 200 amp panel. The old service was 60 amps. It was right here. So we moved the power coming in on the outside to come in the sidewall. Tried to do my best on this. I mean, a licensed electrician did. I have this labeled as hot because I was pulling power off my house. That way I could have lights in here and still wire with this panel dead. The wiring took a lot longer than I thought because I had to think about where I wanted to lay equipment out, where I needed 220, where my machining area is gonna be, where my welding area is gonna be, where I wanted my air compressor, but I'm pretty happy with how I have it set up, and I definitely am not interested in doing any more wiring, so I'm calling that done for now. But I have the lathe right here for now. This is gonna go down there, kind of towards that corner. That's also going to be where my welding equipment is. So it'll kind of be like a welding area and then more of like a machining area. The air compressor is going to go right here. I'm going to build a workbench on top of it. That way I'm not losing that much space. And then this all over in here is just going to be like a general shop area. Where the lathe is now will be workbenches. So I've tried to do everything myself. I've also tried to do everything as cost effective. I don't want to say cheap, but cost effective as I can. And I really had to get creative whenever it came to insulating. Now, everyone that has ever wanted to build a shop starts off, I'm gonna do in-floor heat, I'm gonna put a lift in, it's gonna be 200 by 500, and then you get the prices for everything and you kind of reel in. The one thing I really wanted to do was spray in closed cell insulation. But when I got pricing back for sprayed in closed cell foam insulation, it was almost $20,000. So definitely couldn't afford that. I went back to the drawing board, ended up buying all of this used insulation. This is called iso board. It's like what you would put on a flat roof on like a school or a big commercial building. I bought the 2-inch stuff for $5 a sheet, and then I bought all of this 4-inch for $150 for all of it. That was a really, really good deal. And you can see I kind of got this going up. I'm just going in between the columns right there and screwing directly to the purlins. That'll give me an air gap between my 10 and my insulation and give me a good R value. I think it's an R7 per inch. So on the ends here, I'm just using batt insulation. With this building being old, I faced some challenges there too. The spacing on those cross boards varied between 24 inches and 28 inches, and I'm using batts, so I kind of had to build some stuff down, add some nailers in. Good example of that is back here, because this corner is almost done. I had to add some nailers in here to add my insulation, and then I also had to frame out flush with the foundation wall. That way whenever I sheet this with OSB board, it all falls out nice and flush, because you can see where the posts are. Like here's a post, okay, that's 2 inches back off the plate. Well, that post down there is like right on the plate, and there really wasn't a post down there. So definitely have been a lot of struggles turning this old shed into a shop. We've got a lot of work left to do, but I'm really happy with the progress we have so far. That's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This will be a really cool little video series on what we're doing here, turning the shed into a shop, and allow us to make even better content once the shop is finished and set up for bigger projects.